People deluded, I'm back again. Fridays equals Q&A days, and yeah, without further ado, let me crack on with your questions. Thank you very much for all of you who came with the questions. We've got a lot of tough and challenging ones for myself. Obviously, I can't ask questions myself, so yeah, thank you very much. Hit me up for next week in the comments on Twitter, etc., etc. Just get your questions in, man. Cracking on, not wasting any time. George has asked, bro, can you help me out? What happened with the Almiron deal? How did we not sign him when by October, November last year the news broke that he was coming to Arsenal? Well, until something's signed on the dotted line or creditable sources say it, I guess it never happens. I'm not someone who works for Arsenal or connected with any agents in any way, so I don't know, my guy. I can only just deem that it was nothing more than paper talk, although his agent allegedly came out and said that there was a deal. Again, I don't know, but hopefully that answers your thing. Kanji Ken's asked, what's your opinions on Monkey's potential Arsenal arrival? I've already made enough vids about this, even one this week, so I don't need to really go over the same thing again. But I wouldn't say excited, but it's a promising sort of combination. In fact, it is exciting. He's a man that's got a lot of expertise and can really help us, and someone that understands how to work in different constraints or different sort of cultures. So, yeah. Masters has asked, do you think that Maitland-Niles was much better last season? Apologies for that, people. Let me mute that. You just heard my lappy go off. Where was I? Do you think that Maitland-Niles was much better last season? Do you think it is because of his injury? Maitland-Niles is the same for me as he was last year. Essentially, to be honest with you, has been disrupted by injuries. Obviously, with the big layoff from the start of the season, and recently he hasn't been involved. But yeah, man, he's the same player for me. You've also asked me, do I think Leon Bailey would be a good signing? Of course. Aaron's asked, do you think we could play Aubameyang in the centre with Lacazette a little bit deeper in a sort of cam role so he can drop deep? Yes, I've made videos about that, my dude. So without a doubt, of course. You've also asked me, do you think letting Ospina leave is a bad idea? And do you think Martinez is good enough to be number 2? I think Martinez is an alright keeper. Seeing is believing. I feel, 26 years of age? He's had some loan spells. Hasn't really done anything at the top level. Getafe loan, it didn't really work. Finding his feet at Reading. He is a decent keeper, and I suppose he is good enough to be number 2. He is decent. He's got some experience under his belt. I don't believe letting Ospina go is a bad idea. Obviously, the fee that's being quoted is peanuts. Is about 2 to 3 million or 3.5 million. Should be getting more than that, regardless of what I believe in the player. He's not going to feature. He can't play how Unaiemery wants to play in terms of playing out from the back. And I don't feel Ospina is convincing, in my opinion, not to praise any other keepers. But I wouldn't say it's a bad idea. It's fully justified. Who else? Antonio Banks has asked me, what's your thoughts on... I can't say that name, but I'm going to just say Suleimanov. I can't say that team name, but you've asked me about Sampi Suleimanov. From what I see of him, I believe he's a Russian lad. He's got good technical abilities, but past that, I don't really have an opinion, and I see that he's got an eye for goal. The Russian market isn't somewhere, admittedly, that I've been looking at, so there's that. That's that. Just has asked me, there's rumours that Allegri is leaving Juventus in the summer. Considering we were heavily linked with him before the apparent appointment of Unaiemery, would you rather have Allegri instead of Unaiemery, considering how we managed to stumble on Unaiemery last minute? No disrespect to Unaiemery, I'm happy with him. I'm not advocating for him to be sacked and stuff like that, and unless he was to do something that's deemed he can't take us forward. But Allegri was the man I wanted initially. Definitely, if he was to give me both of them, I'd go for Allegri. I do see a lot of similarities. I just feel Allegri, I gravitate towards Allegri more. Fair enough, he's been at Juventus, but he doesn't play expansive football. But he has, for me, I know Emery has a clear way of playing, but I just see a clear way of what he's playing. I see his players tactically, regardless of if they're the top players or the squad players, they all know their role in each other's. They all know the tactics and stuff. And I very much like how he sets up his teams tactically, and that would have been a man for me, anyways, in the summer that I could have really believed in. Do you see what I'm saying? With Unaiemery, it was more of, I know he's got credentials, he's obviously won the Europa League, and I do believe in him and giving him a chance, but it's not as galvanising to me, sort of thing. Do you get it? It's more of a wait and see sort of thing. So yeah, I would have gone for Allegri, man. And to be honest with you, again, I'm not advocating for Unaiemery to leave, but possibly you've got to float the question, are Arsenal looking at looking to replace Unaiemery with Allegri already? Now, if I'm Allegri, I can't lie, I wouldn't go to Arsenal. the financial issues and all of these things don't make it attractive to me personally. I'd want to be managing the Champions League. Who knows? For instance, I know that United have their own issues, but if you look at United, if they finish fourth, Allegri leaving, obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, in my opinion, should possibly be given the job full time. But Allegri, someone of Allegri's experience and just level, and someone that's worked with Pogba, if he becomes available, then you've got to think United, because it's just rumours that he's stepping down allegedly from Juventus. You've got to think United fans would want their team possibly to inquire, or United hierarchy, they'd at least shoot the question, and they'd probably be silly not to. Even if you look at Chelsea stuff, obviously if Allegri departs and Sarri's still the gaffer, but it looks like it will come to an end soon, he could be thrown in there. So you never know, man. Well, that was a good question. Crypto Gods asks me, what players from AC Milan's academy do you rate? I've not paid attention in a while, but Bellinova, hopefully I've said his name correctly. I think he's agreed a free transfer to Bordeaux. Who else is there? Daniele Maldini, the youngest son of Maldini, I believe, can play as a 10 support sort of striker. I like his sort of abilities. They've got a young lad called Hadara who played in the under-17s World Cup. They've got a couple of them sort of players there. Past that, I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. Is it Martin Blanco or something like that? Well, there's one long name centre half. I like the look of him, but again, not really been paying attention to AC Milan, admittedly, to have an informed opinion. But I'd like to hear the possible talented players that you could suggest for man. But thank you for your question. Have I missed anyone out? No, so far we're good. Julius Halls asks, if you could rebuild Arsenal, who would be your starting 11? Now, that's an ambiguous question. I'm not too sure exactly what you're asking. But if you're talking in terms of the existing players that I would be moving forward with, if I had to pick an 11 out of the starters, or players that are at least playing for the club right now for this season, it'd be obviously Leno. For me, anyways, if they were fit, it would be Socrates and Rob Holding. They'd be my centre-halves. Mavropanos would get game time as well. Cola's cool at left back, but I'd be moving with Monreal as well, so them two would be involved. But let's say Cola. Right back is obviously Bellerin. Midfield would be Torreira, Guendouzi, and Xhaka for me. And then in the 10 position, I'd go Mesut Ozil, just for this campaign at least. And then obviously the strikers pick themselves in Aubameyang and Lacazette. In regards, yeah, that's it really. If I could bring in players, I've spoken about that enough times to be fair with you. I would like to, obviously, if they were here, introduce the likes of Nelson, Emil Smith-Rowe in some capacity. But yeah, yeah, thank you for your question, my guy. I'm trying to find the others. Cam Pruz asks, what players would you sign with £100 million budget? I mean, admittedly, what would £100 million do for you really and truly nowadays? But I would go for Diallo, Brandt, Diallo of Dortmund or Canute of Leipzig. I'd go for Brandt and Calvin Steggs. And whichever money is left, I'd go for Fran Bertrand or someone like that within the central midfield, or Cousins. I know he's not really playing as much as he was last season, but from Gladbach, but I believe he could be moulded into that midfield creative role in a sort of, I don't know how to make it make sense, where Jorginho plays. He can play different roles, but that sort of Jorginho sort of thing, I think he could be moulded into that. Yeah, to be honest with you, my guy. Patrick, I've almost lost your name, it's at the bottom. He asked me a couple questions. Love for this, my guy. You've asked, if funds are truly a problem, why don't we look to get players from outside the top 6, such as Ward-Prowse, Decor, Mawson, Chilwell, Bissaka? They all have Premier experience and would be relatively cheap. Not too sure you're on the right track there, my guy. I'm not going to lie to you, Mawson wouldn't be one. The other names are cool, but Mawson, never that right now. Chilwell is costing 50-60 million because of the English price tag and where he's playing. Probably the same for Bissaka, anything from 40 to 50. Arsenal have the money for that, allegedly, but that would be a significant chunk of our budget. So it doesn't really matter if players are outside the top 6 or not, really, to a degree. The core would be a pretty penny like you're seeing as well. So I'm not too sure I agree with what you're saying with relatively cheaper. Ward-Prowse, English premium as well, depends really. Probably the cheapest out of all of them, excluding Mawson, because I don't feel Mawson's good enough. But you're definitely, I see where you're coming from. We do need to be a bit more smarter with what we're doing. We need to go for either unearthed gems or people that at a time weren't really convinced on, because you look at Maguire, he's going for 50, 60 allegedly now, but when he was at Hull, it was a cheap thing. You've said Robertson as well. You look at Robertson when he went to Liverpool, them sort of signings, yes, but I'm not sure for Chilwell, Bissaka and Decor, they're all going to cost pretty pennies, to be honest with you. So yeah, you've also asked me, would Unaiemery have been better off not bringing in Denis Suarez and trying maybe to integrate Joe Willock, Eddie Nketiah, or both in the first team instead if we are really low on funds? There's not really a direct correlation. Obviously, Denis Suarez and Willock, ironically, they can play in the same positions, but they're two different sorts of players. Denis Suarez is more creative. You'd probably class Joe Willock as more of an actual centre mid, box-to-box, deep-lying sort. So you could say, yeah, on the basis of bodies, Joe Willock could have been integrated, and I would have loved to have seen Eddie play more. But again, Eddie's a completely different profile player from Denis Suarez. Denis Suarez, so far, I'm prepared to give him a chance, and I do give him a chance, but he is underwhelming. But there's not really a correlation between them. But I agree with the basis of a young players. You look at Emil Smith-Rowe, Nelson can actually play in the 10, even though he's a wide man. Possibly it would have been better to give them sort of minutes than bring in an underwhelming signing or someone that I judge as underwhelming. I've got nothing against the player, but yeah. You've also asked me, if you had to choose for Manolas, Delight, David and Jimenez as a centre-half option, who would you go for? That's a tough one, my guy. Delight is 30. I mean, how can a young man be captain at Ajax, be so composed, be playing like he's 35, man? Like, so much height. Even the last 18 months to 2 years, he's developed so much. Because I remember watching him when he first come at Ajax, and I remember the game against United. I don't feel he had the best of games in that Europa League final, and he's become through it an even better player. He's a physical beast, and as he grows into his body more, as he starts probably taking gym a bit more serious and all of these sort of things, he's going to be a beast. I like Jimenez as well. I call him Tiny Godin, man. He knows the dark arts of the game, so it'd probably be Delight and Jimenez for me. Then probably Manolas. Davic's rebuilt himself as well. Last I checked, he was at Lazio. I don't know where he is now, admittedly. You've also asked me, finally, if you were offered the manager job at Arsenal and given a £150 million budget, all money from players you transfer out this summer, who would you bring in and take out? But there's a catch. You have to guarantee that with your signings, you challenge for the league and at least 2 trophies within 2 seasons. Would you take it? Do you think it's possible to meet this goal? I think you're asking for a lot. First and foremost, there's no guarantees in football. I can't guarantee anything. And I think any manager that guarantees anything is not saying what they're worth. Is not really serious about what they're saying, to be honest. Like Pep Guardiola, he's won the league and all of these things, but I can guarantee he didn't promise anything to these players, to the managerial staff and stuff. I wouldn't put any promises, and there's no guarantees in football. 150 million, not sure how that's going to rate, how we're going to raise funds within our squad doing such. You look at Mesut Ozil, because of his price tag, it's going to have to be cut price, probably looking at 20 million at best. 10 to 15, maybe 20 for Mustafi, so you're looking at that. Probably if I was any club offered the chance to buy Mustafi, I'd go with a loan with an option to a permanent, so there's that. Nene probably about 15. Callum Chambers, ironically, because of his form and the English Premium, you could probably fetch around 20, make back a tiny investment on our 16 millions we paid for him. There's not really too many players I see coming close. I don't think it's possible to raise 150 million pounds really and truly with the players that could be eligible to be sold. Obviously, there's not really. You look at Torreira, you look at Guendouzi, probably Lacazette and Aubameyang, and you don't want to let any of them 4 players go. So I don't really think I don't really think I could generate that plus 150 million from that, to be honest with you, my guy. If you're asking me who I'd bring in, Calvin Steggs, Julian Brandt, Rudy, in terms of being in the squad, I'd earmark a central midfielder. I don't think he's quite ready yet, but Celta Vigo's Fran Bertrand, I'd be bringing him in. Delort or Canute at centre-half. So, yeah, man, I don't even think that's able to do for 150 million. If it was, then we could talk about trophies and challenging for trophies. But I don't think it's possible, my guy, based on what you've given me to work with. I'm always going to tell you the truth. And finally, I forgot this question. Robbins asks, what do you think of Ben Shafe? Now, I think he's a good centre-half, a good player. He's adaptable. He can fill in that right-back central midfield as he was essentially converted into a centre-half. Could play a couple of roles, and eventually, if he was given a chance, that could be a good squad player for the side and stuff. But I also believe he's, 20, 21 years of age. He's playing under 23s football. probably not going to realistically make it at this club or get a look in. I would love all my young players too, but it's not going to happen. Under 23 football can only teach you so much. You can only be playing there for so long before you stagnate, which I do think to a degree he's guilty of, even though he's putting in good performances. It's probably time to depart the club, if I'm completely honest with you, but I would love him to get a chance. You never know how good players are until you give them an opportunity, essentially. So yeah, that's been a good Q&A, man. There's been a lot of testing questions, and like I said, man, no question is too complex or too stupid. Please ask more questions. Please get in the comments with some questions so we can do the same thing next week. But for now, people, deluded. I'm out.